Stuff. More stuff. All this stuff. You name it, we have it. But what we don't have, a clue about what's inside this stuff. We don't know where it comes from, or who made it. We know almost nothing about our stuff.
So, tell us about what you have in your hand.
That's my trusty phone. I'm deeply attached to my phone.
It doesn't complain. It more or less does what I ask it to do. I'm in love with my phone.
I have two phones, one iPhone and a BlackBerry. It's very utilitarian, but these things don't just magically appear out of the air. I mean, there is a vast global supply chain.
The supply chain is a way of saying there is a chain of production. Dozens and dozens of countries are involved in mining the metals, processing the different commodities, parts, components, shipping. It's pretty incredible, actually.
This cellular portable weighs only 30 ounces.
Around 1980, there were 20,000 people who had mobile subscriptions. There are about 7 billion of them on the planet now. In fact, it may be the fastest scale-up of any technology in human history.
Your phone, it's a tin device. Tin is the most ubiquitous material of the digital age. It's the glue that holds everything together. There is a vast global supply chain, and the sale of electronics pretty much drives the market. The price for tin. The bulk of the global supply for tin comes from this one tiny little province. When I was there, I saw horrible conditions for poor workers who are exploited for a few dollars a day, literally. Small-scale miners, most of them immigrants to the island, digging in these horribly dangerous conditions. In a one-week period when I was there, 5 people were buried alive. I can still see those guys in the pits that I saw when I was there. It's the bottom dollar of the supply chain.
And why is it important for me to know about all this stuff?
It's important for you to know because by choosing to pay whatever you pay and choosing to buy the brand that you buy, you are effectively condoning their practices. When we look at every part of the economy, meaning companies and then all the parties that they touch, we all have responsibility here. We all have a role to play.
This phone, this beautiful object, is the creature of a great deal of ugliness. Life is not fair. But look at what these people were doing before, which was even worse. Or if you look at the step forward, which will be a little bit better. And it's through a very large number of these small steps that people eventually transform backward countries into modern developed economies. But they have to go through these steps. The big companies, they're not sugar daddies, that they could miraculously lift the teeming multitudes out of poverty. The best we can hope for the big companies to do is to enforce standards amongst their suppliers, because it's simply the right business thing to do. Inhumane working conditions, people have discovered over and over again, are bad for business.
We need to build a market that rewards ethical behavior. We need to build a politics that punishes unethical behavior. I want to see worldwide standards in place and accountability and reporting and transparency. When companies cheat, we end up with massive oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico. When companies make profits at any cost, we end up with populations that are impoverished, unhappy, and then we end up with violence. Taking the position, we don't have to care about the exploitation of the poor abroad. comes back to haunt us very badly.
Unethical behavior is best controlled by local governments. What I fear is that the well-intentioned prescriptions offered by Western economists bring to a halt a process that has led to immense improvements in living standards. In the end, us buying these phones is helping these conditions. It is the insatiable thirst of American consumers that has lifted billions of people outside the United States out of poverty.
The consumer has a big role to play. I've seen studies that show that fair working conditions for a pair of jeans might add 5 cents onto the retail price. In working with companies, a lot of what I hear is, well, we would love to do this, but the consumer has made it very clear that they're not going to pay for better practices. Why do we accept that?
Consumer companies, and they worry about their image, and they have a huge incentive to try and make things better. Especially in these days of social media using the very device that we're talking about, things can go viral, pressure can be brought very quickly.
But consumers have to demonstrate that this is really important enough to us. Knowing that people have no other economic opportunity is not an excuse for human rights abuses.
People have the right to live in dignity, and they have the right not to be exploited, and they have labor rights, and they have environmental rights. In other words, we shouldn't have to choose. All of them are needed for the quality of life on the planet.